Okay, good morning, everybody, and we're coming to you live from Congregation Beth Yeshurun, where we meet every Thursday morning for Rav Wolbe on Chumash, the teachings from my grandfather of blessed memory, in this incredible book of Wolbe on Chumash, and it's backwards for those on Facebook. You're welcome to come live, and it won't be backwards. So this week starts off with V'haya Eikev Tishmun. This shall be the reward if you listen. And the mitzvahs are, many of the mitzvahs are enumerated. Our sages talk about the importance of small actions. You see, we say, I'm going to do the big mitzvahs. I'm going to do the big things. The small ones, the ones which the mitzvahs that are so small, you step on them with your heel. That's what the example of the sages, like there are mitzvahs that we don't pay attention because they're so insignificant. So there's a couple of fundamental principles that need to be discussed. First is there's no mitzvah that's insignificant. No mitzvah. Just because it may not mean anything to us at the time that we're doing it, sometimes we should maybe learn more about that mitzvah and it'll have more meaning. There are certain things that things we hear about, we learn about, and suddenly it means so much to us. It's not that it meant more to us earlier, it's just we didn't know, that it meant less to us, just we didn't know about it earlier. Now that we're educated on it, it becomes more meaningful. So in Judaism, the similar principle applies. And that is that every mitzvah counts, and every mitzvah is important, and every mitzvah has value, no matter how big or how small. Now, there's another very important point here, is that we don't know the value of a mitzvah. So, the mitzvah, for example, there's a mitzvah that if you find your friend's object on the floor, right? You're walking out of this class today, and on the way out, you see someone's keychain, right? It says Mexico on the keychain. So there's a mitzvah to go out and find. You go walk around. Did you lose a keychain? Did you lose a keychain? Right? There's a special mitzvah. You hang up a sign. You see all over the neighborhoods. You see a lost dog, lost cat. Please, reward if found. There's a mitzvah. Or if someone found it, and they put out. It's generally when people. The mitzvah is only when someone finds an object to return it to its rightful owner. So some people may think, that's an insignificant mitzvah. It's a very important mitzvah. It's in fact the first thing that a yeshiva student will learn when he starts learning Talmud. The first thing they learn when they start learning Talmud is to return lost objects. Why? So I'll give you the exact example. The Mishnah says, Elu mitziot shelo. These are the findings that he can keep, and these are the findings that he needs to return. Right? There are certain circumstances where if someone finds something in a public domain, things that are spread out, the person gave up hope on it. We can assume that the person gave up, and if the person gave up hope on it, there's no need to go return it. Right? So imagine this: you're right, a truck is driving down the highway. Right? And out of the back of the truck comes flying a big case of apples. Right? Now the apples are all over the highway. Beautiful apples. The driver continues driving. Right? Do you think that driver's coming back for those apples that are all over the highway? Not likely. Right? But if the entire all those crates, crates and crates and crates fell out, he may come back to get them, because it depends on the volume, to area ratio in a public domain. Now, what's if you walk on the side of the road and you see apples piled up very organized, in a very organized way? Someone made a pyramid out of apples. Would you assume that someone lost them? Probably someone lost them. But would you assume that they gave up hope? When it's in such an organized way, you assume that someone put it there on purpose. It doesn't fall like that. Right? Someone put it there, and someone's coming back to get it. Right? So in such a case, you would have it. We go into great detail in the Talmud to one single mitzvah of to return a lost object, which is a lesson in sensitivity to the belongings of other people, to teach us responsibility for money. There's many, many great lessons from that mitzvah. But there's no mitzvah that we know, oh, this mitzvah is important, this mitzvah not so important. Every mitzvah is important. Right? It's an interesting question I've had over the years. People say to me, we talk about mitzvahs, and they say, really, it's 613 problems. It's 613. I have to light candles, and I have to put on tefillin every day, and Shabbos, we have the 39 primary laws of Shabbos, and then we have all the laws that expound from them. I mean, we have endless commandments telling us what yes to do, but more telling us what not to do. We have 365 mitzvahs telling us what not to do, and 248 mitzvahs telling us what yes to do. And people say, oh, the problems. Well, the truth is that I see it as opportunity. You could look at a mezuzah. Mezuzah, some people can look at it and be excited because they love the design of the box. But really, what is the mezuzah? It has nothing to do with the box. It has nothing to do with the box. It has to do with the parchment that's inside the box. Now, you want to design it properly. You get a mitzvah for that, by the way. There's a mitzvah to beautify the mitzvahs. Right? So not only to have a Shabbos dinner, but to have a nice Shabbos dinner. You have a mezuzah, have a beautiful mezuzah. But we have a Sefer Torah, right? So they take out the Torah from the ark. When you adorn it with beautiful, with the beautiful covers, right? That's also a mitzvah, right? To beautify the mitzvah. So we have these mitzvahs. So you take a mezuzah, right? People. I've heard people say to me, the parchment. I need the parchment inside. I tell them, it's going to cost about $50 to get a good parchment. Like, forget it, right? But people would be willing to pay $50 for better seats, or for an upgrade to their room in their hotel. For small things, people are ready. Why? Because that's where their values are, perhaps. Right? So, but here's the thing. If someone realizes the power of a mezuzah, the awesomeness of a mezuzah, right? I had a woman once stop me right when I was walking out of my office, and back in the old building, and as I'm locking my door, I'm leaving, she says to me, "Can you tell me what this thing is on the door?" She was referring to the mezuzah. So I said to her, "That is a security camera, right? That is a protection that, this place is all protected." She's like, "How do I buy one of those?" So, but the truth is that we could look at every single mitzvah and see the beauty, the depth, the amazing connection with God that we establish through mitzvahs. Right? For example, non-kosher food. Right? Our sages tell us that what non-kosher food does is it distances us from God. It puts a coating of distance in our soul. Right? We think food is for the body. Food is for the soul. Right? And if we put non-good ingredients into that soul, right, then it sort of, that soul gets distanced from its source, from its creator. Right? So the more we learn about it, the more we learn about a mitzvah, the more we actually value that mitzvah. Now, this is really what I wanted to talk about today. And that is that, we're in a generation today that we have, it used to be that the streets weren't as welcoming for people, for children. Streets weren't as welcoming. If someone left religion, it would be a challenge for them to stay away from religion. And that's because you had to be part of something. You were either Christian, you were Muslim, you were Jewish, you were something. You can't be an atheist, 100 years ago. It wasn't a common thing. Today, it's hip to be atheist. Today, it's hip to be nothing. Right? You even have people who don't even be a gender. You're not male or female, you're, right? Undefined. You have all of this where it's comfortable for people to be in no place or in the abyss of either immorality or irreligiously, connected. We have today so much that's welcoming and inviting outside of the realm of connection to God. How do we institute love and passion and excitement into our children? And I think that it's the small mitzvahs that the Torah is telling us here. It's the small mitzvahs we need to instill into them. There's a tremendous, we have 613 mitzvahs. Many of us will never, none of us can perform all of them. Right? None of us, not one human being can perform all 613 mitzvahs. There are a few exceptions, by the way. Why not? Because I'm not a Kohen. There are mitzvahs I can't perform. I'm not a Levi. There are mitzvahs I can't perform. I'm a Yisraelite. But guess what? Someone who is a Kohen, there are mitzvahs that they can't perform because they're not an Israelite. Right? For example, Pidyon Haben, redeeming the firstborn. That's only for an Israelite. If you're from the tribe of Levi or from the tribe of or from the tribe of Levi, either as a Levi or a Kohen, that doesn't apply to you. You can't do that mitzvah. Right? There were different mitzvahs that were obligated upon the Jewish people that are only for those who live in the land of Israel. We live here in Houston, Texas. There are mitzvahs that do not apply to us. Right? So and there are in a sense, there are some mitzvahs for women, there's some mitzvahs for men, some mitzvahs for people who are between certain ages, between 20 and 60, that had certain obligations. Right? The only exception is that there was, for example, there were people who were born not part of the tribe of Levi, but later on were they were part of the tribe of Levi, but they were only made a Kohen later. So they could have qualified to certain mitzvahs beforehand, and then later became a Kohen, so they were able to. But that was only one exception. So, but whatever we do have, we should do with passion. We should do with joy. There are books. By the way, all of halacha. Halacha is telling us what to do and how to do. So it's telling us to wash our hands. How do we wash our hands? It's telling us to pray. How to pray. Right? The Torah in itself, the 5 books of Moses, tells us what to do. Everything else tells us how to do. But then there's another layer, and that's whether it's Midrash or the Talmud or in the words of halacha, which is telling us why to do. Now, the first reason of why to do is always because God commanded us. That's why. But there are many, many layers in that. Right? God doesn't just... think of it like this. You imagine you're working for this company, and they say that every time you walk into the building, you should put your ticket in so that it stamps, right? So imagine if you didn't know what was happening to that ticket. They just say, put your ticket in. Right? We know why we're saying why we tell an employee to put their ticket in the machine, right? So that we know when they came, when they left. But if someone doesn't know that, if someone doesn't know why you put the ticket in that machine, you know what they're thinking? They're just trying to be controlling, right? They're just, they want to make us do things that are crazy. Do you think that that's normal? It's not normal. Why would someone just want to hassle you to put a paper through a machine and you have no idea what that machine does? But once you understand the reason behind it, it makes sense. Now it's important. It gains an importance because you know what? I want to show how hard I'm working. Okay, now transfer that to the mitzvahs, right? God doesn't just give us mitzvahs for the sake of giving us. I know the Jewish people are going to be so bored. I'm going to give them some mitzvahs to keep themselves busy. That's not why God gives us mitzvahs. God gives us mitzvahs because every mitzvah is an opportunity. Every single mitzvah is an opportunity to connect with God, no matter how big or how small. So if we instill in our children the joy, the passion, the excitement, the love for a mitzvah, they will continue, no matter where they are, whether they're on college campus, no matter where they are in the world, they'll continue with that passion and that joy. But we have to instill it to them. It should be something like when you walk, you step on your heel. When you exist as a Jew, you live as a Jew. And that's our responsibility. I think that's one of the lessons we need to learn from this Torah portion, is that no mitzvah should be out of range. You know what? If there's a mitzvah you learn about and you don't know what it means, open up a book. Ask someone. Read about it. Do research. Today you have everything on the internet. Everything. You can search online for any mitzvah in the Torah. You'll find articles upon articles about that mitzvah. But the idea is not to just live as robots. God doesn't want robots. God wants us to live a relationship with Him. God wants this relationship between the Jewish people and the Creator. That's what mitzvahs are for. Mitzvahs are tools to connect between us and God. And the more we understand... Now, again, we don't only do a mitzvah if we understand it, but it sure gives an extra passion when we understand it. And that's why the books that are dedicated to the reasons behind the mitzvahs all have in their introduction this warning. Be careful not to only do mitzvahs because you understand it and appreciate it. Also mitzvahs you don't understand. And there, by the way, there is a mitzvah that nobody knows the reason for, which is the red heifer. Right? No one will ever know. Till Messiah comes, no one will know the reason for that mitzvah. It's hidden. It was hidden from Moses, hidden from everyone. Right? King Solomon says, I know wisdom, the wisest of all men. He says, but the red heifer is so distant from me. Hi rechoka mimeni. It's so far from him. Couldn't understand, couldn't fathom what the wisdom behind the red heifer was. So it doesn't mean we don't observe it. We still fulfill that mitzvah when we had the temple, obviously. Even if we don't understand. So there's one mitzvah that nobody knows the reason for. That's to tell us that there is a purpose in having a mitzvah. You know, I'll give you an example. Parents, all right? You sometimes give your children instructions. You tell them to do something or to not do something. Do you explain to them the reason why for every single thing? Not likely. Not for everything. Right? But it doesn't mean, well, you know what? I don't know imagine the child. I don't know the reason why you're saying that, so I'm not going to do it. And it's not going to work too well. Right? But still, God gives us the reasons for the commandments. He gives us the reasons for them. But that's not why we do them. We don't do it for the reasons. We do it because this is the way in which we build that relationship. We have to invest time. We have to learn as much as we can into the mitzvahs, how to apply them better, how to understand them better, to the greatest of our ability. But the problem, again, and this is the fear, is that we're living in a generation where, people feel like it's okay to just have no relationship with God. No relationship through, by the way, I don't call Judaism, many who don't call Judaism a religion. Judaism is not a religion. Judaism is a relationship. It's all about the relationship. We discussed this numerous times. We spoke about blessings. A blessing is not the price you pay for eating food. Right? Oh, I want to eat something, so I have to pay with a blessing. That's not the reason. A blessing is stopping for a second and recognizing what a gift it is that you have. That God gave you something and blessed you with whatever it is that you were given. Now, you can live your entire life and not make a blessing. And no lightning bolt is going to come and take you. Or you can live your life making those blessings for the food and feeling that joy. Ah, look how blessed I am. Look how blessed I am that God gave me this food. So it's about the relationship. You suddenly feel a joy. You feel a sense of happiness. Like, wow, God invested so much in me. He loves me so much. He cares about me so much. Right? So it can go in various different ways, depending on the reasoning that we understand behind it. God wants that relationship with us, and that's what this entire Parsha is talking about, the relationship between us and God. So with that, we're going to sign off from our friends on Facebook. We're going to continue here live. And God should bless us all that we should always feel the passion and the joy in all the mitzvahs that we observe. And hopefully all 613 mitzvahs that we are able to, we will hopefully observe with joy, with love, and with that, with that connection with God. Amen.